Sometimes it takes us a while to get the world off of us. Saturday morning, I woke up with work on my mind. After 60 hours this week or whatever I've worked, somewhere between 50 and 60, Sunday morning, I woke up with work on my mind. But not until after an amazing church service in the presence of God, and then about 3 more hours in the presence of a godly friend, could I shake the world and come back to a place of, here's my real purpose. Here's what I'm really called to do. This morning, I didn't wake up with work on my mind. Now, yes, it's Monday, and I have to go to work. But I am kingdom-minded today. I woke up with Esther on my mind, in my heart, in my spirit. Esther, she didn't ask to go to the palace. You may not have asked for your vision. You may not have asked for the purpose that God has called you into. You may not have asked for this calling. It may terrify you. I know. God has not given us the spirit of fear. That does come from the enemy. It may be foreign to you, what he's calling you to do. It may seem unfamiliar, but have courage. Be brave. I'm not saying you won't feel fear. I'm saying you can act through it. You can push through it. Obedience, we feel like is so hard, and it's not. It's actually the easier path, because if you're being obedient to God, He lights your path for you. He shows you the way. The steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. Just walk in it. It's simpler. Yes, you may feel like you need to be brave, but it's easier than going the other way. But she did go to the palace. Mordecai didn't ask for recognition. When he went in, told Esther what was happening and what the plot was against the king. He just did what was right. She was pivotal in that role also. She didn't ask to save her people. She didn't want that responsibility. She didn't ask to bear that burden. But she was chosen. She was truly called for such a time as this. Now, in those days, in a kingdom setting, now we look at our own governmental society. We're not in a kingdom setting, but we are the kingdom of God. But our mindset is not always on that, because it's not, some of us, some countries, were not raised in a kingdom. She had to save her people. She had to boldly, courageously go in before the king. He had not beckoned her. One of two things could happen. He could graciously accept her presence, and grant her wish, whatever she was coming in to petition for. But he was the king. Yes, he was her husband, but he was the king. Or, secondly, he could have her killed, because he didn't request her. Now, I think this is a good time to mention, he had a wife prior to that. He beckoned her to come. She refused. She had to be removed for Esther to come into position. God will do whatever He needs to do to put you into the position that He needs you to be in. The Jews could not have been saved with this former queen in that position. Mordecai would have still been at the gate. Mordecai would not have bowed to Haman still. But Esther wouldn't have been in position to save all of her people. One's disobedience can truly make a way for another's obedience. Nothing is coincidence. Nothing is happenstance. In the kingdom of God, everything is spiritual. Everything has meaning and everything has purpose. And He will bring good out of anything. Out of anything. So don't get hung in the bad. Don't get hung in the unfamiliar. Don't get hung in what you think it'll be like. Haman had it all figured out. He thought. Yet he was done away with on the very structure that he himself created and built to wipe out Mordecai. And when the king asked him, what shall be done to honor this one who has been so favorable to the king, he selfishly thought that the king was talking about him. So he layers on all this goodness of what should be done, thinking that he will get the reward, and it wasn't. It was his enemy that he hated. It was Mordecai that got that recognition. We don't know how things will turn out, but good will come if we're being obedient, if we're being good, if we're not being selfish, if we bow to no one Most High God. Let nothing come before Him. Nothing. And yes, be brave. When she went in there, He did respond well to her. And He said, what can I grant you? Anything that you petition, up to half the kingdom. Up to half the kingdom. And she wasn't shy about it. She didn't just whine and cry and say, save my people. She took out the enemy that caused the problem. It is time that we recognize good versus evil. It is time that we stand up against the enemy and we fight for what is right. Don't sugarcoat it. You will know them by their fruits. Don't sugarcoat it. There is a line being drawn in the kingdom. And you better be ready to fight. Listen, you are the one that was created for such a time as this.